Hello and welcome to DDOCast episode 524, recorded the weekend of June 30th. I'm your host, Patrick. I'll be doing the news solo this week. There's not a whole lot. Schedules are busy. Things are crazy. So trying to make this short and sweet for everyone. See, the screenshot of the week comes from Jalel on and Party taking a break while questing in the 370-second screenshot of the week. That is from the Carnival, I believe, under the Big Top. We like to talk about Dungeons & Dragons online nearly every weekend. You can watch us through Twitch, YouTube, the DDO forums, iTunes, or from our website, DDOCast.com. DDOCast is hosted by CyberEars, the awesome podcast hosting network, and shows are usually available within a few days of recording. The next show will probably be next Saturday evening, and you can stay updated by following us on our social media pages or our website, DDOCast.com, with our calendar. On the podcast this week, we're going to be starting a new series on Slayer areas with guest Evilbeeker and maybe somebody else. But we're kind of starting that whole process. New topic, looking through the different wilderness areas and kind of giving an idea of what to expect from all of them and which ones we like and maybe some things to know and that kind of stuff. We've also got a little bit of gaming community news, so let's jump into that with game news. There was some talk about the Travelarium. So this was something that was conceived and conceptualized a while back. The idea was to have a place that people could go and just go straight to different quests, kind of reduce some of the travel time and the hiddenness of some quests in particular. The Travelarium building was put in, but Corovan wrote in this week, says it was shelved primarily due to the large developmental overhead required to make it work the way they originally intended. Sorry, that was for Steelzar. Corovan said, we will have a look into the future of the building at some point, as it doesn't seem likely the Travelarium is coming back into active development. Steelstar then said it was shelved primarily due to the large development overhead required to make it work the way that they'd originally intended. In addition to the massive upfront development costs, it would have more than doubled the time spent on current developmental tasks every update for both content and systems. They ultimately decided time was better spent on polishing and bug fixing other features. They're still talking over ways they can accomplish some of the goals the Travelarium was meant to achieve, and what to do with the building. So if you're looking for the Travelarium, my condolences. It looks like it is DOA, unfortunately. So hopefully they'll kind of come up with a way to help people navigate the different areas as well and get to quests and stuff like that. The other point of note was about the Angel of Vengeance update for Vengeful Magic. The idea is that your power spikes up considerably when you desperately need it. So this is an ability that gets better as you get more hurt. That might be for a heal or to finish off an enemy. Nobody on the dev's end expects a playstyle where you attempt to hover at 40% health forever for maximum power. But people seem to think that's how they should play this ability. Since the last Lomena, they've added a passive +1 DC to all spells to that enhancement and a passive +2 to the capstone. They could scrap this ability entirely and put something static but numerically much, much weaker in its place if that's what people really wanted. Alternately, they're also open to suggestions about what to replace it with. So that's an ongoing conversation. There's also some discussions about some of the loot changes and some suggestions to the loot, just kind of on a higher scale. If you're interested in that stuff, go to the forums and look in the dev tracker. There wasn't really anything concrete, which is why I'm not really going to cover it in the news at this time. But that kind of gives you an idea of some what you might see if you're looking at the dev tracker and stuff right now. Let's see. Bonus days through Sunday, July 1st. You can get Veteran 3 status, which this allows you to create a character at level 10, as opposed to wherever else you might be at. I don't believe you don't need anything. You don't need Veteran 2 status for anything to take advantage of. It's just a global. You can, for the weekend, create a character at level 10, which is kind of fun. If you create a new character, or maybe you have a friend who wants to join you, but you're already at level 10 or 11. It's a great time for them to join you. Store sales. The sales this week is Customize Your Campaign, which gives you 20% off of select adventure packs, monster manuals, attack spells, and Citizen and Jewelers toolkits through July 5th. Also, this week, the summer sales are back. So this is through July 5th. You can get 35% off of Hearts of Wood, 50% off of Vault of Night, that quest pack, and 50% off of Superior SP Potions, 100 stack. You get 50% off those. Also, if you don't have it, now would be a great time to buy the Gnome Race. It is 75% off through July 5th. You can also get 5 Remove Disease Potions with the coupon code CUREME through July 5th as well. That will take us to community news. We had the 289th Chronicle. For the community spotlights, Trig has been conducting fan discussions on the forums. This week's topic is clerics. You can chime in there. Been fun little discussions, actually. Fun little topics of discussion as well. Let's see. There's only a week left to submit images for the DDO fashion competition. So if you want to submit for that, make sure you get that in. The pictures of that are fantastic. Even if you're not submitting, I highly recommend that you go check out that forum thread. The comment, if you could visit anywhere in DDO in real life, where would it be? That's a tough question, because there's a lot of places that would be really fun to go. But if it comes with the monsters, I'm not really into that. But if I could visit it without worry of getting dismembered, maimed, or killed, Stormhorns would be pretty high on my list of places to go. I like to do a little bit of hiking and see a little nature and stuff like that, and it's a beautiful place to do both of those. And there is some serious hiking in Stormhorns. Oh my goodness. The guild for the week. The Highland Clan is based on the Atlanta server. They have a small core group of adult friends that play nightly, U.S. time. They have folks at all levels and experience levels. If you're a beginner or an old hand, they invite you to give them a try. They feature a fully stocked guild level 137 ship and have their own voice server on Discord. All right, let's see. Fan site news. So we got a shout out for our episode last week with DDO Players News that we kind of did together to help them out more than anything else. Let's see. Congratulations on Ginger Spice for his 700th video. A lot of videos. You can watch the adventure continues for D&D Night Group as they continue Season 2. I believe that's the pen and paper group, but I'm not sure. It's a little vague for me there. But I did. If it is that, then I showed up last time and swung a big axe around. It was a lot of fun. See, Bachelor Gore has laid his Fridays on ice. The Damsel DDO continued to do Ravenloft. Doug Glendower chased after Guild Renown in his latest episode of Bard Life. Evenote ran Inferno on Elite. McVegan Pants did some questing in Tethyamar. And Shoemaker did DDO Wiki Talk episode 109. I also wanted to highlight a series of videos that Tiani was doing on reasons to play DDO, so we'll link to that. And also, BioBreak is back to Wizards of Wine and Ravenloft, so we did a blog on City Adventure there. Let's see, coming up, Gen Con's coming up, first weekend in August. It looks like San Diego Games was doing something official for Friday. August 3rd, 7 to 10 Eastern meetup. Cordovan wants the agreement signed and paid for before announcing more, but they sort of tentatively have a confirmed space for the event, similar to last year, to be for both DDO and Lotro, but we'll probably skew towards DDO. There will not be a badge needed, so if you're in the area and you want to stop by as well, that's cool, and you can do that. DDOCast Splat news, we're going to be off for a couple of weeks. Things are just a little too nuts between work and playoffs and stuff like that. So we're going to be back in July 24th for a little bit. And then we'll be off for much of August. And then we'll be back at the end of August, early September for Season 4. Will kind of be when that kicks off. We did have FuzzyDuck81 wrote in regarding our episode last week. Says it seems to him that a load of the smaller bug fixes and changes are probably the result of training new starters, and it's a training exercise. I think they might have been doing some new hiring recently. Good excuse to clear out a load of the lower priority items from the list, since they might be relatively easier or at least less likely to have weird side effects. Yeah, I don't know. There's been some weird side effects when people try to fix things. So he likes that they've allowed people to still get the older versions of Crystal Cove loot, as certain pieces of old gear can have much nicer effects, like the Close of Ice, which is blue fire shield clicky, the Tattered Gloves and their double-digit fire lore only at middle level 2, which you simply can't get in newer loot gen. And the Furion Mirror Cloak with its power resistance is actually relatively reliable in the lower levels. It's a later note about Divine... Oh, we're talking about the Divine Champion and the Cleric and favorite soul trees, and I couldn't remember, but I thought I had seen it. He mentioned that you need Mithril body for favored souls and Adamantine body for the Cleric version if you are a Warforged. The Angel of Venus tree getting some SLAs is really nice. It's a bit of a shame that they lose the unique free spell from the capstone, though admittedly only a few of those are really all that great anyways. He likes that one of the SLAs is a Comet Fall, and as Cleric he typically uses it more for the knockdown effect to save spell points, but it can dish out a decent amount of hurt when you turn it into meta magic, so favored souls will be able to really make the most of its dual CC and damage potential. Yeah, it's a fun spell. It's a really interesting one to get an SLA on. It'll be a lot of fun to see what people utilize that one for. All right, I'm going to close out the show here, at least this portion. So thanks for listening to the show, and thanks to all the contributors for DDOCast that make this happen. I do apologize for not having a lot of guests this summer. It's just kind of a crazy time and trying to manage all of the things and schedules. Some of these shows have just been easier to be flexible on my end and be able to record the news section quickly and efficiently. But I do hope in the fall we'll get more people back on the show as well. Let's see. Also, thanks to Sandy Stone Games for the support of the show, and to Wizards of the Coast for making DDO happen, and to Cyber Ears for hosting the podcast. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOCast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. If you have a DDO-themed webpage, or you Twitch DDO and you'd like to be featured on our website, you can email me at DDOcast@gmail.com. We'll make that happen for you. You can also hit us up at DDOcast.com for show notes, MP3s, our calendar, previous shows, and other fun stuff. If you'd like to be part of the show, or have a comment on this episode, or a question you'd like to hear us answer, or maybe a topic you'd like to hear us discuss, or you just want to say hi, you can leave a comment, or you can email us at DDOcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on social media and follow us for the latest cast updates at DDOcast on Twitter and Facebook as well. Our closing tip for the week comes from Bob on Kenneth. He says to smash all of the crates. So stay tuned for part 1 of our new topic, Slater areas, with Evilbeeker. All right, welcome back. We are talking today about Slater areas. So we'll start our discussion on that. I'm your host, Patrick. With me this week, we have Evilbeeker. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me. Hello, everyone.
So this will start a new kind of series of discussion topics. Like I said, we're going to focus on Slater areas. There's a lot of them. They're more correctly called wilderness adventure areas. That doesn't fit so great in a title block, so we're going to call them Slater areas, which is kind of more of a colloquial term anyways. Explorer areas, you might also hear them called that, which is really just referencing kind of two of the three things you can primarily do in these areas. No one calls them rare areas, right?
No.
doesn't really fit very well. So we're just going to start everything by saying, what are these areas? What are they used for? What can you get out of them? They're the wilderness areas. They range in size. Some of them are really small, like the ones out in Reaver's Refuge. They're very small. They can be very large. King's Forest, Barovia, I think, is the largest one. Stormhorns is also pretty large. So there's some pretty sizable ones. And it's basically just a series of random encounters. So there's groups of monsters in various places. which you can kill to get XP. There's explorer points. In the older versions, you have to go to a specific point. There's not really anything that tells you or highlights at all that that's where you want to be. But in the newer versions, they have little icons that you go and click on. And usually they make it so that I think they've actually made it so you can't really like tab target them or backspace target them very easily.
No, they're hard to find in some cases.
And then there's also rares. So these are either named monsters or challenges or something like that that kind of crop up. They can be in random locations for some of the newer ones. The older ones, they tend to be in the same spot. They're either there or they're not there. But the newer ones, they kind of move around a little bit. They did a bunch of work on Slayer areas, wilderness areas when they did King's Forest and Menace to the Underdark to do like the random encounters. And ever since then, they've mostly gone with that script of these guys can show up in different places. But before that, pretty easy to find because you just go to their spot and they're either there or they're not there. Some of them have 2 places they can show up, but mostly they're not too hard to find. Again, they're not there. Of those 3 things that they all give you XP, the Explorer and the Rare encounters, if you complete all of them, then you get a bonus of XP. Also, if you complete all the Explorer area, then all the Explorers, that the Fog of War goes away on the map. The Slayers are usually what people are going for, other than just running through these areas to get to quests.
Well, and I was going to say that's the other thing that these Slayer areas do is they host quests.
Yes.
So you will find yourself moving through some of these wilderness areas, picking up Slayers just by running to the quests. Sometimes it's a good quick way to get XP along the way, or you could say, hey, I'm going to come back later. I'm too short of 100,
Yeah.
because they go in levels. So I think it's 10, 25, 50, 100, 200, 400, 750.
Oh, the Slayers.
Yeah.
Right.
How many you get. So the more you get, the more XP you get. The XP on the rares, I believe, stays the same. But it's also, some of these areas are very large, like Patrick mentioned, and sometimes finding the quests aren't that easy. Now with Barovia, they added the teleporters to the quest because they're so large. Yeah, but when we got Stormhorns and even Menace of the Underdark, we had to find those quests, and those they some of them weren't really apparent.
Belly of the Beast.
Belly of the Beast. There's a couple times we went looking for that quest and we just gave up.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That's a pretty tricky one to find. And we'll talk about that when we get to Underdark. Yeah, so just kind of more mechanical stuff. You cannot repeat Explorers once you find them. You've found them. Rares you can repeat, but you get a third of the XP. Except I believe High Road, I believe, doesn't have an XP penalty for random counters. I have no idea why. But there you go. I think there might be a couple others that are that way as well. Then the Slayers you also cannot repeat, but the increments keep getting larger. So, you get more XP. Slayers are generally the ones that, like if you're gonna go farm these things for XP, this is where you're gonna look at is the Slayers, because you can get a lot of XP,
especially if you hit it at the lowest level range. So once you get up a little bit, the XP goes down based on what level you are. So if you're even a little bit above the level range, you're going to get a lot less XP.
Yeah, in order to earn full experience, everyone in the party needs to be. So there's a range it'll show you a range of levels that can be in there. If anyone's over that level range, then you don't get. Anyone under it will not get any XP. For things like Slayers, it doesn't actually tick up, but like killing rares or explorers, it will tick them, and you won't get the XP for them.
Right.
Which is annoying.
A lot of times people will do is if you get a Slayer pot in a gold roll or a silver roll and an XP pot, you drink one of those both of those before you go in, and you crank off 200-300 Slayers, and you got yourself a good chunk of XP.
Yeah. And I kind of like sometimes if I have a Slayer pot, because Slayer potions only progress while you're in a wilderness area. Sometimes I'll go into a Slayer area where if I have an XP pot that's out, but I got a Slayer that's somewhere between like 3,000 and 5,000 kills, I'll go expire the rest of the potion in there while they're not burning an XP pot. I'm kind of a cheap guy like that.
Well, and,
you can also one thing I like to do is if I know I'm gonna epic reincarnate a character, maybe I'll get the Slayer counter up to just shy of a big benchmark, and then bail, and then after you reincarnate, come in, get the 10 kills you need to click over and get a big boost of XP to start your next 20 to 30 run.
Yeah, but that's only in epics though.
True.
Yeah, in heroics, your Slayers reset.
Yeah. Though I don't think, generally speaking, these days people don't do a lot of Slayer work in heroics. I think the XP is generally easier to do by running quests, but that's not always the case. Slayers are really good to do solo too. That's kind of
yes, that is huge. I mean, if you're coming on one night and nobody's on with your guild, or it's a slow night, jump into a Slayer area. If you're 2,000-3,000 short of a rank, and you're like, oh god, I want to get this rank before the weekend or something like that, Slayer areas are a great place to get a quick XP, so you can pop that rank.
Mm-hmm. And there's you can even go more than that. I've gone into Slayer areas because I needed 50,000 XP to hit level 20.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take too long to do it that way. All right, so that's kind of an overview. Anything else we need to hit on that before we kind of start cruising through these?
No, let's hit them.
All right, so we're just gonna go in level order essentially, which starts with Korthos Island, which does have a few quests in it. There are people who run this. This is a good place to kind of get your feet wet, as it were, once you unlock it and go out there. Great place for new players to kind of roam around, kind of get in understanding the mechanics. There are people who will get the XP for it by killing everything. It's not a ton of experience, but it'll get you through level 1 and 2 probably.
Well, and it's also important to note that there aren't many free-to-play Slayer areas.
Sure.
In fact, according to the list I have here, there's only 5. Korthos is one of them. So if you're a new player, you got a free-to-play account, and you're still on the fence of whether you want to go VIP or spend the money for points, you check out the Slayer areas, see how your characters work. So, did I build a decent ranger where I can kill things, or am I shooting my bow and nothing's happening? Things like that. And remember too that before free to play, Cerulean Hills was the bottom of the barrel Slayer area. So either one of those is a great, because that one's a free to play as well. So either one of those is a great way for starting characters to test out their builds and to get a feel for the game.
Yeah, we can talk about Cerulean Hills too. I mean, they're not big XP grabs. I would say you are definitely better off questing at this level because the quests tend to be shorter. So they're not places to really farm XP efficiently. But like you said, they're a good testing ground for newer players, particularly. If you're testing your 10th life character in here, you're probably not going to get a very good beat on.
Right. These are for the brand new players. In the more experience you get, the more lives you have. I think the more people avoid the lower level ones.
But there are a couple quests out in there that you can do. Although again, I think people generally avoid after 3 or 4 iterations. They kind of generally avoid Korthos Island in general. I'll usually run a couple of them just for the coin load flavor.
Well, and I was just going to mention that when we did the leveling series, when we were talking about Korthos Island, I ran the entire island with a brand new character, and you can get, I think it's a 70 coin lord favor just for Korthos.
There's a lot of quests that are coin lords.
Yep.
So, the next one is Waterworks, which is a level 3, 1 to 6 level range. Korthos Island is level 1, 1 to 3, and Sterling Hills is level 2, 1 to 4 level range. Waterworks is pretty small. There's not a ton of monsters here, although I will oftentimes just kind of look for the rares on my way to the quests. You're probably going to end up in Waterworks just because you're probably going to run the Waterworks chain. But I don't usually go in there more than that. But again, the explorers are kind of fun to find. Or
it is
rares.
I mean, and then like I said, like I mentioned before, you run the quest in there and you come out and you're like 2 short of 100 or something like that. You might want to just jump back in there and remember the Waterworks area. If you don't go to all the little places, I mean that shows up later if you run what's the quest?
Invaders.
Invaders. Yeah. So
you can learn the map in Waterworks and then go run Invaders.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. That'll take us to Tangleroot, which is a level 4, 2 to 7. This is out through House P, House Fjarlin.
Yep.
I have always liked Tangleroot. It's kind of a nice little area. It used to be really handy just because of before they changed how collectibles work, because you could get a really good set of collectibles and potions from those collectibles out in Tangleroot. So.
Yeah, and not to mention the quests that are out there too. So you have a very large quest chain out there. 9 quests, I think it is.
That sounds right.
Yeah, and in those quests, there's quite a few collectibles. So if you were looking for any kind of grab on collectibles, Tangleroot Gorge and the Tangleroot quests are a great way to go.
Yeah, and this is one of those odd questions. It's not run a lot anymore.
Well, isn't that because it's not on Reaper?
You can't do it on Reaper. It also has a very odd leveling structure because the first 2 are at level 3, then 2 at level 4, then 2 at level 5, and then 2 at level 6, then 2 at level 7. So it's, where do you start? If you you either start too late in order to be kind of the right power for later, or you kind of end up, or you do that inversely, or you just kind of do a couple of them and then come back and then go somewhere else and come back, which is usually what I do.
Same here. I mean, if we hit it, it's usually around 5, 6, and then we just plow through them all.
Yeah.
And just you take a little bit of a hit on the early quests, but the back end ones usually give you some good XP.
If it's the last thing you do at level 5, and then you end up taking 6 after you do the first 2 quests, and then you can kind of make it work. But otherwise, it's just kind of an awkward level breakdown.
Yep.
All right, 3 Barrel Cove, level range, the heroic version, which is level 5, with the range 3 to 8. It's important to note that unlike the quests, running these on heroic and epic or legendary is irrelevant. There's no crossover with any of the information.
Right. There's no penalty for doing it in both versions.
And 3 Barrel Cove is one beautiful. If you haven't ever been there, you should definitely go. It has pretty good XP too. This is I believe the lowest level Slayer area that has scaling, by which I mean the more people in your party you have, the larger the group of monsters you'll run into. Which is a newer technology than the ones we've already talked about and some of the ones we will continue to talk about. So if you have more people in your party, you'll get more things to kill, which makes Slayers a little bit easier to do. You can use hirelings to get that benefit, but they don't provide as much benefit as actual players.
Right. Now, actually, you just brought up a great question. So if you go into these Slayer areas, so let's say you're going into 3 Barrel Cove and you're 6th level. but you have a eighth or ninth. Well, actually, it would be a ninth level. You'd have to have a ninth, so you'd be seventh level and have a ninth level hireling. If your hireling is over that top level, you will get penalized experience, I believe. So you
Although
got to be
generally
careful when
you can't bring a hireling that's higher level than you unless it's one of the
gold seals, right? Yeah,
yeah.
that's what I meant to add that. So watch yourself because we've gotten burned on that. I've gotten burned on that one a couple of times.
The other thing I wanted to mention really briefly about Three Barrel Cove is there's a surprising number of unique or hard to find monster manual races out there. So
yes. Well, in explorer areas too.
just in general, yeah. But the Three Barrel Cove is one that I kind of I know that's one that I've gone to a couple of times because I needed X Hunter or whatever.
Right. Right, but on the flip side of that, so Tangle Root came out module 4, and actually Patrick and I were talking about this before the show. Before free to play, the updates were called modules, and then after free to play, they were called updates. So module 4, you're talking early days of DDO, and a lot of times finding the DDO wiki is a great way to figure out a quest if you're not sure. I mean, we like to go into the quest naked, raw and naked, and not know anything about them, just to have a little bit more fun. But sometimes you get frustrated and you're like, oh, I got to look at the wiki. Well, we didn't really have a whole lot of wikis back in the early days. So finding that extra, there's a couple of Tangleroot Gorge Explorer locations that are out in the water between either right off a cliff under the water or in some really weird places you got to swim between rocks and crevices and whatnot to find it. It's definitely a little bit of a different experience, and if you go into it trying to find all the spaces without looking at the wiki, that it's a great challenge if you haven't done it already.
Yeah. Three Barrel Cove was actually redone when they made an epic versions for it. They redid the Explorer area a bit. So, all right, moving right along to Searing Heights, which is level 6, range 4 to 10. If you haven't ever been in here, I am not surprised. There is a quest here, but they added that quest long after this was out. This was started out as just an explorer area. And I don't think it's a terribly popular one. Probably
it is free to play.
Yes, so it is free, but the mob selection here is not exactly ideal for a level 6 character. You're talking about a lot of fire stuff, a lot of AoE fire damage, drow, which make crowd control a little bit harder because it's spell resistance.
What we use Searing Heights for, other than the one quest, is veteran status 7 characters. So I make a veteran status 7 character. I want to see how he plays out. I'll take him in here. I'll run him straight to the Searing Heights and see how he works.
Let's see. The next one is Sorrow Dusk Isle. This is level 7, range 4 to 11. This is probably the first place that people started farming for slayers. It's not a huge map, but there's a fair number of monsters you can find. It has a really large level range. 4 to 11 is kind of nice. So you can get a lot of people in there. There are several quests in here. There's a 2-part quest chain. There's 10 quests. It's all one chain though, so you got to run all 10 of them kind of in order to get credit for the end reward and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I don't know if they ever fixed it, but this is usually a really touchy quest. So you got to make sure that you're on the right quest of the right chain, or you'll one up there and you'll end up red boxing it and then screwing it up.
It's kind of true of Tangleroot as well.
Yeah.
Pretty easy to end up in a situation where you have to red box. You can red box them though, which is at least nice.
Yeah.
But again, there's I really like Sorrow Dusk Isle's quests because you can run them on Reaper and they're all pretty short.
Right.
So you get, but the problem though is again they go from level 6 to level 10. So again, you have that like 2 at 6, 2 at 7, 2 at 8, 2 at 9, 2 at 10 kind of a problem. When you go there and that kind of thing is a little bit more of a problem. The quest actually used to be kind of more of an end game place too.
Yeah,
Hey, back in the
there's a
day.
lot of there's a lot of higher level stuff in those last couple of quests, and some of them are kind of challenging. The one bad thing about so the quests are split up, like Patrick mentioned, into two different areas. One of them is like right when you come in. All those quests are within a minute's run of each other, but the other ones are on the other side of the island. You got to go through a cave entrance. You got to snaggle around, and it's a bit of a run. And if you're on if you guys wipe out of this quest and you want to go back in, then you got to make that whole long run all the way back over to the quest. That's the one downside about the Stardust quest, the higher level ones.
Usually I'll do the quests kind of around I'll come in two waves, right? I'll come and do the first chain of 4, and then I'll come back and do the second chain of 6, and kind of do them in 2 different stints, so you don't have to run through that as much. In any case, Stardust was people started doing Slayers with this one. It was one of the first ones that they changed as well to the new system, which is part of the reason why it became the new. Because when these all came out originally, if you've been in Threnal, the Threnal area, which I don't think is actually on this list.
No, well, technically, it's not a Slayer area
Yeah.
because it's a little bit of a weird one.
If you go there, you'll run into the kind of the old mechanic, which is kill this group of monsters, get a bunch of XP. Kill this group of monsters, get a bunch of XP.
Right.
That's what they all used to be. And then they changed them to the Slayer pretty early on. They changed it to the Slayer Explorer Rare mechanic, and Stardust Isle was one of the first ones that they did that with, which is why it was one of the first ones that people started farming for.
Well, and I gotta, now I'm thinking about it. I remember us geeking out about Stardust because that was the first place we ever saw trolls.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Watch out for the scorpions, though.
Yeah, scorpions are nasty there too.
Pretty beefy. All right, next one on the list is Red Fence, level 9, range 6 to 13. This is always a weird one because it's a little gloomy. I wouldn't call it beautiful, but it's not like it. But that's because of the atmosphere.
It's a swamp.
Yeah, it's a swamp. The atmosphere is really good, I think is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Well, and it was different. It was different than any other Slayer area that had came up before it, right? So it had a lot of the swampish creatures. So you had a lot of the vine horrors and the mudmen and the wisps, and then the four quests, which were all really not far from the entrance. You could just punch out to them. You could run through all the monsters if you want to get to the quests. But doing the quests is pretty good. I like this one. I wish there was an epic version of it though, because when you're when you run the quests, because you can run these quests on epic. When you run the quest on epic, you got to run through all the low level garbage to get there.
Yeah, a lot of them have that problem. Yeah, it's not one that I spend a lot of time in, to be honest. I kind of cruise through it, and there's a couple spots I'll hit on the way to quests, because I know that there's where the explorers are in between the quests, but that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not one that I spend a lot of time in. It's not one I see a lot of people spending time in, mostly because people run the quests, and that's what they're there for.
That must be why. That must be why we ran it on Tuesday without you.
Well, we'd already run it on Splat 2, so.
Yeah, but if I remember correctly, you guys failed out of the last quest, though.
I thought we got it. I don't remember. It's been too many iterations of this. Let's see. The next one is Ataraxia's Haven. This is actually one that I will use occasionally. It's level 10 to 10, range 7 to 14. Right. It's a small island, so it's really easy to. This is a really good. It's free, which is helpful. Would be a good place, I think, for someone to kind of stretch their legs a little bit and see where they're at as well for those new players. But this map is really easy to navigate. It's an island there's a mine in the middle. that you can only get into from the one side, and the rest. Other than that, you just go around in a circle and run into things. So it's not. I mean, there's still some nooks and crannies, but it's a good. It's not too large. It's a good size. There's lots of explorers to find. The monsters sizes are pretty decent. It's a good testing ground for someone who's kind of in this level range for the first time, and also kind of see kind of different stuff, I guess you could say.
Well, and are Dugers and Wildmen in the monster manual?
Well, I don't know if Wildmen are, but
yeah,
the Wargar are.
Yeah, the Dugars, because this is where you find those guys plus the humongous rust monsters.
Yeah, maybe the one downside to this. There's also a kobold who thinks he's a dragon.
Yes, that's actually kind of funny.
Good little flavor part. But also, it's a good little area. And every once in a while, I find myself, man, I'm not really in the mood to do much. I'm alone, or it's late, and I'm not really feeling doing anything crazy. And I'm in the right level range, and I'll head out here and kind of do a circuit. I also like the quests out here are pretty good too. And just running to the one, you can get like 10 explorer areas on the way there if you take a little bit of detouring. So,
and there is one actually really cool spot in this Slayer area where you can test your jump skill. There's like a Duger camp, and then there's a spire next to it, and you got to try and jump. Now, before Abundant Step,
you mean the lighthouse?
Yeah, the lighthouse. So before Abundant Step and the whatever the Dragonborn version is called, you used to have to have a really good jump to get from one side to the other, and we used to test ourselves on that.
Yeah, there's some fun stuff you can do there. Let's see. We'll talk about two more and then we'll wrap this section up and hit some more next week. Let's see. So the Restless Isles, which is again level 10, 7 to 14. Let's see. Possibly the least popular.
Well, there's a reason for that though. So this is now, correct me if I'm wrong, this might be the only Slayer area that requires you to do a quest before you can get in.
That's fair.
Okay.
I think you can teleport. I think you can actually get in there. You'd have to teleport with your ship, but I think you can get there. Anyways, I don't think that's why it's not very popular.
Well, maybe not, but it's kind of a downside. So people tend to skip. There's other Slayer levels at that range that you can do that don't have that requirement. And there's only 2 quests in the Slayer area, and both of them are in the Titan raid. And which are not run very much at all anymore.
Well, the other problem is that it's a maze.
Yes.
It's go through this door and end up in this spot. It's not a linear. You have no perception of where you've been and where you're going, right? It's not like the other areas that we talked about where you can look on a map and see where you've been and how you've gotten there. This is you go through a door and you're in a new area. You go through another door and you're in a different little area.
Right.
It's just that you have to figure out which doors to go through. Some of the doors are locked.
And somewhere there's a semi-decent map of it, but you're right. I mean, even following it on that level is it's a pain.
Yeah, it's not the easiest of places to navigate. It may, in fact, it's probably the hardest place to navigate. There's another place where we'll talk about in the future that is a little difficult for people to navigate, but this one is just, like I said, there's no linear time. You can't see how you've gotten where. That's the problem.
If you're looking for ogre slayers, that's the only reason to go there.
You can kind of just while we're on this little spot, if you're trying to find the quest, if you find someone to share the quest with you, you can teleport to the quest giver. From the beginning of the Slayer area, which puts you very close to the quests themselves, which can be a little bit of an easier way, a little hack to get to those quests. So, And then that brings us to Barovia, the heroic version. Again, level 10, range 7 to 14. There's a lot of XP available here. It's a pretty large map.
And if you do hit the rares, you can pick up the Stani tokens out of the chest. That's actually a really great benefit of doing the Slayer area.
It hasn't really caught on as a Slayer area. Again, it's an heroic. We're talking about the heroic one here.
Right.
So they tend to not be as popular in heroics, just because, again, you can generally get more XP faster questing at these levels.
But if you want to take in the ambience of Ravenloft, then it's really great running around. And to be honest, finding some of the explorers are pretty hard.
They move.
I've stumbled on a couple of them. Just oh hey, wow, there's a scroll. Grab it and But I like it just to if I have an evening where I'm not doing anything, just to run around and say, ooh, hey, look at that. Ooh, look at that. Something else I haven't noticed yet.
The far distant screams are kind of fun.
Yeah. As long as they don't keep you up at night.
Yeah. It's we'll make this a segment here, and we'll come back next week to continue talking about this. If you'd like to support the show, you can visit our website, DDOCast.com, or you can support us on Patreon. You can also find show notes, past shows, MP3s, and more on our website. You can also find us on social media for the latest cast updates. I'm at DDOCast on Twitter. If you'd like to join the discussion, leave a comment or email us. You can do so at ddocast@gmail.com. So until next time, may all your attack rolls be crits, all your chests level appropriate, have fun, and don't forget to gather for buffs.